NATO region. The Black Sea would become a NATO lake, in effect, surrounding Russia. If you look at the map, that means Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Turkey, and Georgia. And it happened that to fulfill that plan in 2008, a formal commitment was made of membership of Ukraine and Georgia. Well, suffice it to say that this did not sit well with the Russians from the very beginning. It was a cheat, and it is a cheat, and it's such a typical American cheat. It's hubris, it's self-regard, it's we love freedom and motherhood and democracy, and we couldn't do anything bad anyway, and we're peace-loving, and we're defense-minded, and we don't threaten you, but we do have our way on anything we want to do. And that was the attitude. Madeleine Albright, Clinton's Secretary of State, used the phrase that we're the indispensable nation. Whoa, okay. So that went on, and then
implying, I guess, that other nations are dispensable. Is that?
That is exactly what it's saying. We are the indispensable nation. In 1999,
I should ask, just to be clear, sure. During this period as well of American cheating, was Russia doing any cheating?
No, Russia was basically on its back in economic crisis.
Yeah, they were in economic crisis at that time. Okay.
Just in 1999, Clinton decided, because he was terribly advised and a person of poor judgment in general, in my view, that we would take on Serbia. And he invoked NATO to bomb Serbia 78 straight days. When Milosevic, the head of Serbia, not a nice guy, by the way, but Milosevic said right at the beginning, no, we don't need war. I agree. But Madeleine Albright wanted war. She really wanted to teach a lesson. She wanted to show how tough the United States is. And interestingly, she wanted to break Serbia into two parts, which is the result of that 78 days of war. 2008, maybe to prove the point. At the NATO summit in Bucharest, President Bush Jr. insisted that the NATO countries commit to enlarging NATO to Ukraine and to Georgia. Now, what's important to understand is this was not a spur of the moment. It wasn't a George Bush, Dick Cheney thing, though, of course, they endorsed it. This was a project that went back to 30 years ago to 1994 and was spelled out vividly in the Grand Chessboard by Zbigniew Brzezinski, and also an article called a Grand Strategy for Eurasia in the Council of Foreign Affairs magazine, Foreign Affairs. Okay, so Council of Foreign Relations magazine, Foreign Affairs. Now, this was 2008.
Could we go back to right after pulling out of the treaty in 2002?
Yeah.
Wasn't that also followed fairly quickly by U.S. putting missile systems in Eastern Europe?
So the U.S. announced immediately that it would put these Aegis missiles first in Poland and then afterwards in. That really means you're against us. We don't allow for neutrality. This is America's, again, another kind of our stupidity.
It's either you're with us or against
us. Exactly. So in late 2013, it really was a kerfuffle that was made into a grand crisis. Yanukovych delayed signing an agreement with the European Union to open what would be a 10-year process for membership. And he delayed it because Putin said, don't do this without bringing us into these negotiations. We have a currency union with you, not a currency union. We have a customs union, excuse me. In other words, we share common tariffs. We have open trade. You can't just decide you're going to join EU without some implication for Russia's trade. And we need to be party to this discussion. Well, for Europe and especially the United States, the main attitude towards Russia every moment is, and I know some of that firsthand.
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, Um, Often one can say if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck, but it's nice if you can also know it's a duck. So this has the earmarks of things that were done in many places by the U.S. But is there documented evidence about the 2014?
Well, yes, in several ways. But one thing to say is, suppose on the January 6th insurrection in D.C. In 2021, that a number of leading Russian politicians had come and spoken to the crowd and said, "We're with you, we're with you." And a Chinese senator came and said, "We're with you." That would be taken as sufficient evidence to say, "Get the hell out of here. You have no business being here." They'd be on a plane immediately. The U.S. senators, Lindsey Graham, who I regard as one of the great jerks of our republic, John McCain, our Assistant Secretary of State at the time, Victoria Nuland, out handing out cookies to the demonstrators, famously bragging about how the U.S. has invested $5 billion in projects to build Ukrainian democracy and so forth.